The Regents Podcast. The Regents Podcast.
All right. Hello,
Hello.
ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, boys and girls.
Hello, everyone.
Yes. Welcome back to the Regents Podcast.
All are included.
All
Everyone's
are
welcome.
included. My name is Aja.
I'm Ellyn.
Yes, and we are two best friends who quit our jobs to pursue our passions.
Hey.
Yes, indeed. And we have something so pertinent and relevant to talk about on today. Okay.
I'm literally hitting my head into my microphone, everyone.
Right. For those
This
of you who can't
episode
see.
is a personal attack.
Yes, absolutely. But you know what? You are not alone. You are
No.
not alone.
I
Because
am here, be strong. Is that the line?
wait, no, it's not.
Isn't it?
I am here with you.
It's not
I
ever
am
with Be
here with
Strong?
you.
Oh.
Oh, we're far apart. Your love is in my heart. Yes, girl. It's definitely not.
I am here with you.
It's not Be Strong.
Okay.
That's like that's later in the song.
Okay. I knew there's a Be Strong in there somewhere. Well,
There's a Be Strong.
she's here with me. My accountability partner here.
I'm here with you on accountability for your stuff, but I also have this going on as well. I think anybody who's a solopreneur and ambitious and, has goals and stuff, this is going to be pertinent to them. So we were talking offline as we always are. Because guys, before the show starts, it's a 2-hour.
It's the show before the show, to be honest.
No, it's the pre-show. Okay. And you guys are going to want to be in on this.
If we ever go on tour or like do an audience something or other, like they're going to see the show before the show for sure.
You have to. It's quite a sight to see. Okay? But we were talking about, all of the different things. It's still the top of the year. The year is still fresh, and we have a lot of stuff that we want to accomplish for this year. And just different phases of our business that we'd love to flesh out, that we've had ideations about, and now it's just time to put it into action.
Mm-hmm.
But we were talking about how different systems Ellyn was sharing, we've seen her actively create certain systems for herself, her, affirmations in the morning and different things that help her to kind of stay on track, be on track. And we started talking about how if you don't have those systems, how it could lead to overwhelm, and, exploring how overwhelm is not just, oh, I have like a ton of things on my plate, but also it's just taking the first step. Or, it could lead to inaction. How do we combat that? What does that mean? What does it look like to be overwhelmed? Am I overwhelmed? Is it a lot of stuff to do? Or is it that I don't know what to do or how to do whatever? We're both going to share in real time how we're dealing with that when we notice like, okay, maybe I'm a little overwhelmed or whatever, and what we're doing to combat that. So Ellyn, you want to start us off, because yours is something that has actively been shared on the Regents Podcast. So I'm sure people will want to know what's going on lately.
I think yes, I think everyone knows like what am I like not taking action on. It's obviously Ellyn with a Y. However, the update is that I am putting things in place to like take action, because I think I recognize that there has been a bit of like avoidance. And I think part of that has been, I was having a conversation with my friend, when I was back in the East Coast, and he was basically saying, because I was just like, I do feel some shame around stopping Ellyn with a Y and like not sticking with it. And like, I guess in the larger sense, it's like, what does that say about me of like not being consistent? But he kind of just reframed it and was like, yeah, but, you made a series of choices, and one of the choices was to stop doing the show, but also from that, your life evolved and grew in different ways that maybe, who can say that it could have continued? We don't know. But now you're making another set of choices that bring you back to the show. And that's all life is just a series of choices, and how you respond and react to that decision and what happens from that. And I was like, yeah, I think that's a nice way to look at it of like it was a choice I made and now I'm moving forward and not really ascribing that kind of morality to it of like shame in that choice.
Yeah.
Um
Exactly.
and kind of living in this like, yeah, I took a break, but I'm bringing it back. But like then I keep not bringing it back. I just keep talking about bringing it back. So like,
Mhm.
okay, so that was a conversation we had and I think that I'm kind of in I definitely am the type of person that like when I feel overwhelmed or like I don't know what to do, I think I am a freeze. So like
Uh,
the responses to like external or just the responses to like anything, it's like fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. When most that we
mhm.
hear are fight or flight,
Fight,
right?
flight, yeah.
And then freeze is like, a third little guy hanging out that no one really talks about that much. And then fawn is like a whole other category I couldn't speak very much about.
Yeah.
But for me, it's freeze. I'm like, if I don't do anything, if I don't move, if I don't blink, if I just don't do anything, nothing bad can happen. But like indecision is a decision in and of itself.
Absolutely.
So that's where
Yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of like looking head on at that inaction this
Mhm.
year. And I really feel like I need to like get outside of that. But I would want it to be perfect if I brought it back, or it would be this if I brought it back, or
Yeah.
people are going to be like, well, why did you cancel it in the first place? Like we want to know the intimate details, and it's just like, so
Mm.
I feel like I'm kind of like coming at it head on now, but
Yep.
in small bits.
Small bits. That's important. I love that because you've been vocal about Ellen with a Y wanting to restart it, but then also realizing like the quote unquote cons or whatever you feel might be
Mm-hmm.
a hurdle, right, to overcome. But in that same regard, I know I've spoken in the past on the show about how I have like different phases of my business or different arms rather
Yeah.
of my business. And there is one particular arm that I have been wanting to start, but I haven't. I guess last year was my first year being full time in music. And so there was a lot obviously that I had to grow through just in navigating that new lifestyle that was completely new to me. So in hindsight, I allowed myself some grace, but there's also in hindsight, I saw that there were moments that I could have been tackling it in small bits. And so at the top of this year, I was just like, all right, I don't want to reach back to old habits. And when I say old habits, I mean like old habits. Like I used to be a really bad procrastinator. Or I guess I was a really great procrastinator. Like I was the person you got an essay due 2 nights before, maybe the night before.
Yeah.
It's gonna get done. All I know is that I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna miss it. But with this, I was just kind of thinking about how 2024 went, how fast it went, and realizing that like, oh my gosh, like time flies no matter what, the time is going to pass. So I have to be, on it. I got to do something each day. And it doesn't have
Mm-hmm.
to be mountains each day that I'm climbing, but I just got to take 10 steps. You know what I mean? So, the small bits piece really resonated with me because I too am just like every day, 5 to 6 days out of the week, I just want to make sure that I'm taking an action on that thing, and then I can have this actual overview of the year to track myself because I heard this phrase, what doesn't get tracked doesn't change. And I find that to be so true because it's like if I'm not really keeping a mark of where I want to be, where I want to go, where I am,
Mm-hmm.
it could be the end of the year and yeah, I've done work on it, but did I really complete it the way that I knew that I could have?
That's a good one. What's
Yeah,
not tracked doesn't change.
right.
That's a good
Exactly.
one.
So the small bits piece is, I think, a big key to the overwhelm conversation.
Yeah.
And freezing, I think, is also like procrastination. I kind of look at that. They're kind of one and the same because that's me. If it's something, and this, arm that I'm building out, it is pretty big. There's
Yeah.
actually, excuse me, a couple of different ways that it's a lot. And I guess I look at it as a mountain and I'm just like, how am I going to do all of this?
I
You know,
know, I know. That's like the big part is just like, oh
that's
my
the part,
God. And then it's
that
like,
solopreneur part.
and then just getting it off the ground, but then also like sustaining it is a
Mm,
whole other thing. And I'm just like, I'm trying to prioritize that because I feel like that's going to be like a really big turning point in this solopreneur hustle of like really
mhm.
pouring into that thing that I really love and care about and like
Yeah.
connecting with people. But then at the same time, it's like, there's a million other things pulling on my attention,
Mhm.
um, which are crucial, like paying bills,
Yeah, you gotta
and
eat.
doing the work doing work that I need to do to pay bills. So it's just like,
Yeah.
and trying to find that like sustained energy to keep going, and I've been kind of coming up against this thing where I'm like, I really want to read this book that I bought. And
Mm,
I just like can't find the time when I have the energy.
okay, gotcha.
Because when it's like I'm home, I finish streaming, I get home in the evening. If it, I eat something really quick, and then I'm like, I'm so tired that I'm
Right.
like, I'm ready to go to bed. Like I've had a
Yeah.
full day. I went to Pilates. I did a lot of stuff during the day, and so
Mhm.
there's like that part of me. So this morning, I was up early enough where I drank my coffee, journaled, and these are all those like new habits that I have that are all kind of like
Mm,
have all built on themselves. So,
yeah.
I woke up early, drank my coffee, journaled. I have my like little sunrise YouTube video playing because it's still pitch black out and it makes me angry that the sun's not out. So I have a sunrise video playing so that it's like naturally waking me up. And then I have my
Okay.
like certain frequency sound playing from Spotify that is like a positive affirmation frequency to be on that I'm like, it sounds nice and it's not actually because I actually don't want to hear a melody first thing in the
Okay.
morning because I'm going to get
Right, right,
distracted and
right.
start kind of like to the melody.
Ringing or yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so and like, or like, I don't know, it like, takes my brain elsewhere. Like I need, and
This
whatever this, I
ambiance.
don't care if it sounds like it's insane. This is what works for me. And I really grapple with this idea of like, I have to be this rigid to like
Mhm.
to do what I need to do. But
Yeah,
like, you know, it is what it is. Like it helps me have a much more productive morning and I'm able to like go and do what I need to do. So it's like, if you're
yeah.
going to come into my space and be like, this is weird, then like, there's the
First
door.
of all,
Like
who cares?
no, but you know
Exactly.
what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
have to live in that headspace of like, you cannot be afraid of someone thinking what you're doing is weird or
Mhm.
like bad or like that they're going to judge you for it because I just have to constantly remind myself of that because always think that I've like moved past an insecurity or move past worrying what other people think. And then
Yeah.
I catch myself not doing something because I'm worried what people are going to think. And
Mhm.
like people who get what they want in life don't worry what other people think.
I don't.
So I feel like I keep confronting that emotion and that feeling. And once I confront it and like I
You
look at it,
recognize. Yeah.
instead of it's this involuntary thought that pops in my brain, like I really feel like I'm working on that. Like I don't care. Like I just
Yeah.
cannot care. There's no room to care if people
Mhm.
think the way that my morning is operating is rigid,
Yeah.
you know?
Right, right.
So that, I do this and I go my potty and then it's like all these things add up to be able to like,
I have a productive day.
and I read a chapter of the book that I wanted to read
Ah, see?
because
You made time
I
for it.
had a little bit of time. I had the
Yeah.
morning. I was drinking my coffee. I needed to go walk Olive, but it wasn't like, oh, Pilates is starting right now. So I was like, oh, I have like this 5 minutes before I need to get up, get dressed, walk Olive, and then leave. I was like, let
Mhm.
me just instead of like letting 5 minutes pass unmarked, if you will,
Right.
and putsy do nothing.
Yeah.
Read my
Let me just
chapter.
pick out this book. Yeah. I love that.
I was like, I did it. I read a chapter.
I started. I
I did.
started.
Yeah.
And then when we start, it feels so much more doable, because that's how I felt too. And I can speak also to the systems. Like I know we've touched on these types of things before, but for me one of those big things are like setting focus sessions. Your computer people has a lot of I don't know, resources for you. But like the clock function has this like focus thing where it'll set a timer for you. It's right there. You can have it shown, on top of your other screens or not, whatever. And working in breaks. It incorporates breaks for you if you want to. You can skip them, whatever. And that for me works perfectly because I'm great at time blocking. I can look at my day and say like, okay, from 12 to 2 I need to do this. I'll give myself like 30 minutes for lunch or, whatever it might be. But if I don't have an actual like timer going off or something to kind of keep me in that zone, it's so easy to get out of it. And I work with my phone on D&D. That's do not disturb for those who don't know. But
They're all like, is she playing Dungeons and Dragons? Like, what is going on?
yeah. No, but seriously, like it
Same,
works
same.
like a freaking charm for me because it keeps me on task. It's like, okay, 30 minutes, I do that. Let me take a break, go get some water, use the restroom, whatever it might be. And those types of things after just starting the task, like it takes my mind so much more, so much further because I'm just like, okay, I can do this because I'm doing a little bit, staying consistent and keeping in, it's that rigid frame. And I think, especially for us as solopreneurs, like we have to have that because there is no structure unless we dictate it where it's going to be.
That's that's so true. And you know what? That's really kind of making me think of like, yeah, it's one thing to like write down the schedule for your day, but it's like,
Yeah.
if because I do also put my phone on do not disturb when I'm working or I'm editing or what have you. And also like, you know, to sit down and like, let me get this thing done. Or I know I want to get these three things done. Let me do 30-minute windows for
Yeah.
each of these things or an hour, whatever it's going to take. Like setting an alarm means you can just be like, oh, that's it. Like, that's it. You only had to
Good.
do it for as long as that moment was.
Exactly. Right.
It's not this. And I think, again, that's like another part of making it more of like a digestible, like I can do
Mhm.
this for 30 minutes, this thing that I don't really want to do. Like, for
Yeah.
example, like, when you sit down to do your taxes or you work with your accountant or whatever you go, like it depends on like how you do your taxes. But,
Mhm.
I use an online company that I'm not going to plug until they sponsor us. Um,
Okay.
but so yeah, so I use this software and I usually will sit down on like April 10th.
Just 5 days before,
Make sure I've got
whatever.
my, maybe April 1st and then revisit it the 10th. And then it's like, yep,
Yes.
gravy, you're good. But
Okay.
I was like, what if I just started like slowly going in every couple days and like upload this file that just came in the mail or upload that file that just came via email and like update, do you still live where you live? And so I've basically
Right.
like, instead of it being this thing that I'm like, I am going to have to
I
sit
do everything.
down for 3 hours and do my taxes today. And like, because that's what I did last year. And I was like, you know what? But I felt accomplished too. Like I sat down, I got it
Yeah.
done. Like I was like, I'm going to get my taxes done. I'm just going to sit down. It's the only thing I'm going to do today. You don't have to do anything else productive. This is it.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
instead, I'm like lightly chipping away at it,
Yes, exactly.
and I
I
feel
love
like
that
I feel
too.
good about doing it that way too.
Right. There are certain things, that I too, like at the end of 2024, I realized it was just like, I have some things that I do monthly, like even from a financial standpoint with like the books for Ajamoy music. I have some things that I do monthly. But then there were other things where I was just like, because maybe there are things that take place like throughout the whole year, I kind of left it till the end of the year. And it was just like, yeah, I'm not doing that again because it's so much easier to digest if I would just dedicate 45 minutes at once every month to kind of, tackle all that stuff or an hour or whatever. And then at the end of the year, I don't have this huge task that I have to complete. And I'm just like, oh, I got to do all these, that's and I think too, a part of that comes from you live and you learn, especially because we're doing all of this on our own at the current moment, waiting for our dream teams. And we'll really, we can see how we can better help ourselves in the future. It's like, okay, I don't want to do that again. Let me take steps to make sure that I combat that now. So 2020, the end of 2025 is going to be that much more. productive, accomplished, and checked off because I've already taken those steps, you know?
That's I feel like that's the thing, right? Like there's so many situations where you can think of like end of year rushing, like even back in the 9 to 5 world, like I have such vivid memories of like the sales team coming to me asking like, what did I sell? And like, did I sponsor that thing? And like, what about this? And I'm like, if you
Mhm.
only would just track it all year round,
That's right. What
if you
if
only would just know that you needed this by the end of the year, which you definitely do know you need that, then like, then you won't be so stressed out and you're asking me 100 things. Then I have to spend 20 minutes doing research to make sure because it's not something that I track who sold it. I just track it sold, you
Yeah,
know? So then, of course, I incorporate the next year who also sold it so that I can answer that question easier. But I wish they would just track for themselves.
on their own. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank God we
Oh,
don't have to do that anymore.
thank
Um,
God. Oh my God. Yeah. It's like a dark flashback.
just quick, get in and out.
That just
Just
gave
get in
me like
and
anxiety. Yeah.
out.
Too
Oh,
much.
man.
Too much.
But speaking about, taking on the first task or whatever,
Hmm.
are there any things that you would recommend, like, as far as figuring out which tasks to do? Like, what's the thing that's going to move the needle? Like, how do you assess what tasks you are gonna do that's gonna actually make you feel accomplished towards your goal?
So, in the broader sense of task, I would say I kind of look at things on like a deadline basis, of like a deliverable basis, of like, and also what can be happening like concurrently. Like, can something be
Mhm.
happening in the background while I'm doing something else, right? So, it's like if I reply to this email in the morning about this potential deal, then it's off my plate and the wheels are turning on that thing, on that project. But the
Yeah,
longer that I don't reply to it, the longer it's going to take for that project to happen. So it's like,
yeah,
to me, then I'll prioritize quickly replying to that email over maybe something else that's like, yeah, I'll get it done and it'll be done and that'll be a task done. But like, even if you think about it in terms of like a household chore, right? Like I can clean the filters on my air purifiers
mhm,
whenever,
yeah,
right? Like that is a task that like needs to be done, but it's not like a time sensitive one, I guess I would say. So maybe the way I phrase it is like, I just look at things that are time sensitive,
gotcha,
and I
okay,
kind of organize things in that way.
mhm,
I think though, I do want to try to look at things as like, yes, is it time sensitive, but is it, and I think it's looking at it in that, it's time sensitive, but is it a high priority?
mm,
And
yeah,
trying to
yeah,
kind of check and balance that thing because like, maybe it is something that's time sensitive, but it's not like highest on the priority list. So like I
yeah,
know that there's an email that someone's waiting for a response from me on, but there's no action that anyone's going to take after that. They're just
okay,
waiting for information from me. And I'm like, it's going to take like me doing a couple things to reply to that email. So I'm just like, oh, okay. That's not like, it is like something like, oh, if I could just send it to them, then I'd be done with it.
mm,
Like that idea of like the 2 minute rule, like just if you can do it, just do it. But it isn't
yeah,
going to take me 2 minutes. It's going to take me like probably 30 minutes. So
okay,
just to get the whole thing done. So I'm just like, okay. It is, however, a priority thing because I do want to have that relationship and that thing move forward in the essence of like, well, now you have the information that you need. Should you ever need me, call your girl. So that's kind of the difference of like, yeah, it's like not time sensitive, but it is a priority in like that relationship in that direction I want my career to go in.
right,
So that's where I think I am working on, okay, how do I reevaluate like, same thing of like editing videos. Like, I have
mhm,
all these unedited videos and it's just finding time to edit these videos to get them up and get them posted. Like
yeah,
they need to be prioritized over, I would say, a couple of other things that I am currently falling prey to the time sensitive prioritization I've been doing
mhm,
and needing to give more attention to those things because they're a part of the long-term priority
right,
of my goals.
yeah,
So that's
and
a
that's
big thing.
I love, that idea of urgent versus important,
Oh,
you
I'm
know?
writing that down because that sounds way better.
But it's like you said, like, these are things that are time sensitive, it's urgent, but in the big scheme of things, it's not super important, or it doesn't tie into this larger, you know, um,
Goal that I
time
have.
frame of
Big
the
thing.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think too, like, a practical thing for me, and I just did this, I can vividly remember a certain session I had last week, and let's just say it was like a 2-hour block. I had to think about the urgent versus important just for that particular task.
Mm.
But the way that I was able to do that was I even gave within that 2-hour block, I set a 15-minute timer just to think about, like, okay, because we also really do know the things that are going to move the needle. I know I used to be privy and guilty of sometimes like working on something, but it's like, this isn't really the thing that's going to make the difference. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's just like, but I'm not doing that thing that makes a difference because it's either soul bearing or it's a huge task or whatever the reason could
Yep.
be. So, it's okay, it's a 2-hour time chunk to do whatever, but I need to take those 15 minutes at the top just to figure out, like, okay, how am I going to tackle this for today and maybe set
Yeah.
the course for the week. You know what I mean? Um, and that takes that real kind of assessment. That's me, I guess, figuring out during 15 minutes what's urgent versus important for this
Mm.
particular activity. Um,
Because you can distract yourself with other like things that need to get done and being
yeah,
like, yeah, I was so busy. I got so much done today. Like I'm so accomplished. But it's like, yeah, but did you move the needle on the priority thing?
right, exactly.
No. And like you're falling prey and trapped to, this idea of like hustle culture and getting stuff done and like you're, checking stuff off the to-do list. But it's like,
Right.
if it's not some of the most important stuff that you're checking off the to-do list, you're still just spinning wheels.
Right. And I want to ask you because I know for me, what got me super like adamant about time blocking and all these other types of things, but I want to ask you first, what is it for you that's made you so intent on figuring out your systems and, starting Ellen with the why, making sure that you do the small tasks to, get Ellen with the why off in the ground and running? Like, what is your motivation behind that? How did you get to that point where it was just like, okay, I got to do this?
I think have I think part of it is I don't like saying the same thing over and over again and not
Mhm.
doing the thing because I feel like that was like, I really want to quit this job. I hate this job. I don't want to do this job. And that was a year. And it's
Yeah.
like, dude, just quit the job. So it's like, oh, I really want to bring back Ellen with a Y. Oh, Ellen, we all love that show. You should do it. Oh, when's it coming back? All these people asking me. And it's like,
Mm.
you just you want to do it. I felt so good and like what I was doing was meant something and mattered and I was putting something good into the world and like it gave me such purpose and like I'm not just going to haphazardly get discovered for doing this particular thing. If I'm not on stage doing stand up, I have to create my own town square, because I'm not necessarily doing stand up where someone's going to see me. And yeah, I'm doing social,
Yeah.
but you got to have content for social. So it's like do the thing that you actually like doing.
Yeah.
Um and I think that that's kind of been this coming back to it and just knowing, I just think the biggest thing is just knowing that like to make it for anything else wouldn't necessarily feel authentic,
Mm.
So it's like I would want to make it on Ellen with a Y.
Yeah.
I'd want to start like because I'm not a day in the life. I'm not get ready with me. Like I do the get readies with me because I am putting my makeup on anyway, but it's a vehicle for me to like tell a story.
Yeah.
Um and I think that like I would rather not, and it's something I think about a lot of like I don't want to just tell stories about my life that I know are quote unquote like clicky or salacious or something that's going to like get people's attention just because
Mhm.
I want to get that social buzz rolling so that I can then green light other stuff in my life. It's like I don't want to be like self-exploitative in that way. I'd rather just like really focus in on doing the thing I like doing that
Yeah.
also still protects a little bit of like my own like privacy, because I think I just don't necessarily see myself like I'm a very open person, right? Like I think it's
Mhm.
very clear. I talk about a lot of different stuff. I'm very, very open, but there are things that I'm not just like spewing and sharing and
Sharing.
talking
Yeah,
about.
sure.
I am very I don't like the word careful. I would say I am very
Conscious?
what was it?
Conscious?
Yeah, conscious, or I'd say not particular. I got to land on the right word, but
Mhm.
maybe purposeful. Like I'm purposeful about what it is I'm willing to share and what's vulnerable.
Oh,
And then there's
yeah.
other things that I are vulnerable for me, but they're not for public consumption.
Yeah.
Um, and I think getting clear on what that is for you yourself, and then, that's where I kind of like hem and haw about like, I've got tons of stories that I could tell, but which stories do I want to tell? And what stories are the ones that are like good and move the needle forward in conversation? And what's another story that's just like very clicky and I know will do well, but also at the end of the day might feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Um, so I just think that the like I do struggle with the bigger why, other than like I'm trying to get somewhere
Mhm.
to a version of self-actualization, to type of lifestyle, to financial freedom. Like there's so many like things I'm trying to get to, and it's like I want to travel in the vehicle of Ellyn with a Y.
Yeah.
Like that's why I stopped doing all the like who's the star content, because
Mhm.
like I like the concept of who's the star and using that as like a funny
A
conversation.
segment.
Yeah, and a segment or like things to talk about or like, but I don't like the idea of putting content into the world that like, you know, it's funny because I don't know anyone. I don't know the people. I don't know the celebrities. And I'm just like, I don't know who's the star in that relationship. It's like, well, he talked a lot on the red carpet. So he's the star. And, she doesn't talk as much in interviews. So she's not the star. And, or like he wears really flashy clothes, whatever. And I'm like, it's funny when you like kind of keep it removed. But then when you take that step back and you
Yeah.
kind of like think about like, I'm like, I just don't want to like talk about people.
Perpetuate that type of
And I feel like
yeah,
I constantly am
conversation.
always like circling around, like, no, I don't want to talk about people. Like, I don't want to talk about people. Like, I feel like it can be very small
Mhm.
conversation
Yeah.
about others. I think, should we talk about like extrovertedness and introvertedness, or like the idea of a dynamic in a relationship? And like, let's
Yes.
talk about like this
Let's talk about
idea.
concepts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like let's talk about the idea of who's the star in relationships and like how does that
Yeah.
work? And can it always be this person is a star and that person is a supporter? Does that ebb and flow in different scenarios or times in your relationship? Like that
Mhm.
to me is a more meaningful conversation.
Right.
And then of course you can like reference and look at like couples and be like, you can see that there's like a dynamic that's changed between these two people over the course of their relationship. And this person was really, really huge. And then that one kind of took a backseat. And now this one's what have you,
Mhm.
to like illiterate the conversation, illustrate.
Straight.
Thank you. She's a conversationalist, people. Okay. She's a wordsmith.
Okay.
Um,
Hello.
yeah, but yeah. So I just kind of feel like I'm just kind of like, I don't know, inching towards a version that feels just authentic. I think at the end of the day,
That's
it's one of
a
my
big
core
motivation.
tenets. It's just what feels authentic, and obviously
Yeah.
that can change, but
Mhm.
I think that's what I'm really trying to like hold on to the most is like whatever is feeling authentic.
Amen. I love that.
I don't know.
Um,
Word
I don't know.
salad. Word salad.
I love that you said that, because I do remember that you were like, "I got tired of saying the same thing." Like, my job just became this whole thing every time I was talking to my family or my
Hmm.
friends, and it's just like, I'm tired of sounding like a broken freaking record.
Yeah.
And for me and I can definitely resonate with that, and also the self-actualization and authenticity part too, because, being and doing the things of the person who you say you are or want to be is super important. And I
Hmm.
think for me, one of the big motivations I can talk about like 2025. just in relation to 2024, one of the big motivations for me to get all my systems in place was really just the concept of time. I
Mm,
was like, 2024 really came and went. Like it actually did that. And there are still things that I did not accomplish that I wanted to.
mm,
And for me, I was just like, I have, and it was kind of like, a recap of our vision boards. It's like, I have a vision for these things. I do not want another year to go by and I haven't worked on or accomplished or checked off or whatever these things that I have in my mind to do. Like it became a sense of urgency for me to actually accomplish and work on and act on the things that I have the vision, for.
yeah.
So that became for me like, okay, well, girl, we got to get it done because otherwise there's no other way it's going to happen unless I take the time, sit down, make a plan, set an overview for the year, like all those things. And I love to like act as if I am acting as though Ajamoye music as of whatever this date is in 2025 is already a multi-million dollar empire. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So it's just like, all right, well, we really got to get on it. And I think that's one of the most sobering things for me is really like embracing in real time the concept of time. I'm just like, dang, like you really have to do stuff every day. And that is so profound to me because, like I said before, I was such a great procrastinator.
yeah.
I think I'm just now at this ripe young age realizing like there's no better time than today to do
Mm,
it. And because I want to look back at the end of this year and just be like, man, the top of the year looked so different. And
yeah.
now look where we are. You know what I mean?
Oh, a hundred
That's what
percent.
I
A
want.
hundred percent.
I thirst for that. I hunger for that feeling. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
that's what I'm working towards. All I care about is like being able to look back and say, God willing, I did all these things and look at where we are. Like, I just want to be able to report back to our Regents Podcast family and be like,
Yeah.
God, things can change. Okay.
No, seriously. Like I
Right.
just the idea, just the concept of like how far you can come in like,
Yeah.
6 months, a year, like how much life can change, like,
And a
you
lot.
know, and for the
Yeah.
good, I mean, obviously there's
Right.
always going to be just crazy stuff happening in our lives and in the world, but like I just genuinely, and I feel like the beginning of this year is really doing a lot to shake my nerve, and I feel like I'm just like, I just have to like stay committed. And I think, you're saying like procrastination, like is a part of something that you can be working against.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like for me, it's like, the non-priority tasks
Yeah.
that then I'm like, I'm being productive, and I'm like, okay, a month has gone by, and like, what are you doing?
Right.
So it's
I'm
like,
like, what are you doing?
yeah, like, what are you doing? And it's like,
Yeah.
if you really want to come at this thing full force, then like, you really need to take the time to like hit the ground running, or like make something happen, like make moves. Don't just like
Make
keep getting up
moves.
and doing things, but not doing the thing.
The thing. Okay. That part. Because it so matters. You have to do
Yeah.
the thing.
Yes, yes, yes.
And all of that type of stuff, the rigid systems that we have in place. And I'm sure you've encountered this too, because so have I. I
Yeah.
have, but I also have people who can get through,
Hmm.
obviously, and I've been interrupted on certain occasions where it's just like, okay, well, now I have to grant myself some grace or whatever
Hmm.
because I do have to deal with this. You know what I mean? So maybe this day didn't go exactly how I planned, but that's a part of the process
Yeah.
too. And that's that very mature adult thing we have to do is find quote unquote balance to a
Hmm.
certain extent to realize like, okay, I am working towards my goal, but this thing is immediate. This requires immediate attention or whatever. And then just getting back to it the next day.
Yeah.
That takes a level of maturity and discipline, really, I think, to be able to kind of get back into the flow like you didn't skip a beat.
Yeah. And I feel like for me, I feel like I I know I was mentioning to you offline that I'm like everybody knows on this podcast, I work with my friend Lauren, who is a coach. And I feel like that's been pretty helpful for me in like moving things forward in the right direction. And like, I am, like scheduling an offsite for myself, quote unquote, to like really tackle the Ellyn with a Y to-do list or larger sense of like, what am I want to do? What do I want it to be? Where do I want it to go? What colors resonate with me? What vibe resonates with me? What would a podcast studio look like if it could be custom designed? Like everything to like really manifest like
The
this
vision.
thing, and then also creating like, today, tomorrow, this week, this month, this year tasks,
Mm-hmm.
and get this thing off the ground, to get it back up and running in a way that feels good.
Yeah.
I think just having that little offsite to figure it out is going to be really helpful. And like, figure it out. Like, yeah, I like Ellen with a Y, but like, does, going live on Instagram the way that I used to like make sense anymore? But
Mm-hmm.
also there was an element of that live part that I really love.
Yeah.
So what
How do
do,
we balance that?
how do we, how do I accomplish the feeling of that? Or like, so there's a lot to be worked on, but I do feel like working with a coach who's like, okay, so like, why don't we set a date for the offsite? Like between this time that we spoke and this time that we spoke, why don't we come up with some options? Or like, why don't you set a date for it? And then like, let's plan towards that. Like, okay, now that the date is set, what does the structure of an offsite look like? Shout out ChatGPT. We'll be working together on that,
Exactly. Our own
Um,
virtual assistant.
exactly. Like I'm going to need to do some like creative thought exercises and like vision
Mm.
board, mood boarding, like aesthetic, like vibe of the like pot. Cause it's like, I want to come back, but I also don't want to just like come back the same.
The same. Yeah.
It's like, I understand that there's a lot of like, you know, good is better than perfect. Like just starting is better than nothing. But there's also that element of like being really proud of the thing you're putting out.
Of course.
And,
Yeah.
not just like crawling out of the recesses of the internet with my same old logo and my same old promo and just like, here I am. I'm
Right.
like, I'm back. Nothing ever happened. And it's like, no, like life happened and like you don't even live in the same place anymore. And like,
You don't do the same thing. You've evolved
no,
in so
I have
many
evolved as
ways.
a person. And I feel like closest to the version of myself, health wise, mental health wise, that I was when I started the podcast, when I was
Mm.
like reaching this state of like flow in my life and I felt like I could take on something more, like the idea that I could start, and I'm in a better place than I even was, so I'm like, I'm ready to like do it again. I just have
Yeah.
to figure out like exactly what does that mean.
Right. Right. Oh, that's so good. Well, we're
So
so excited. We're so excited to see the growth and look later down, the year
yeah.
and see how it's progressed or
Mm-hmm.
what you have plans for and all of that. And I think there's so many tenets of what we've said today that are helpful. Like for us, we hope that it helps the other people too, but tracking things, setting an overview, time blocking, creating routines and stuff for
Mm,
ourselves that really make all the difference for really pushing the needle forward when it comes to overcoming overwhelm,
yeah.
because it doesn't have to always be like, oh, it's all the things. It could just be this one thing, but it's taken up 80% mental capacity. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So we just want to figure out how to get some of our mental space back. And I can totally relate, that. But we're
Yeah.
doing it. We're
That's my
taking
that's my one thing.
taking steps.
I'm picking my offsite dates, and then
Yes.
I go to the next task.
Exactly. But so much is gonna happen during your offsite that
Yeah.
you're gonna really come back knowing like, okay, wow,
This
now I
is
know what to do. Or actually
exactly,
the next,
exactly.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's all we need is the next freaking step. That's all we need. And
100%.
this was another thing that I kind of wanted to mention. And I think it's a great anecdote to kind of tie the episode in a bow. It's the same thing like what we did to even get in this space. It's
Mm,
also an idea of faith, right? So for sure that you want Ellyn with a Y to live and exist in a new form in this year, beyond, whatever. So it's like having that faith that I do know it's going to happen. I'm taking the actions, but then faith is also a verb. Like I have to
Mm-hmm.
take action on that. So yeah, it's having faith and not letting like the fear of what if, how, I don't know,
Yeah.
stifle us and keep us in that same spot. So
1000%. And that's at 1000%. And I feel like, how's it going to be? Or what am I going to do? And who am I going to have on? And like, I don't know any new people. And it's like, that's all, these are all like, it's not going to be cool. Or I'm going to be sitting in my apartment doing these interviews and it's not going to like resonate with people. And I'm like, this is all not part of the productive part of like moving the needle
ah,
forward. It's just like a
okay.
mental cloud. And it's like, just
Mhm.
part the cloud,
That's
take a
it.
breath,
Mm-hmm.
just have faith.
Yeah.
Like, we've said this before, like I believe in myself enough to know I can make something happen. So I'm going to just do it.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Speak, woman. That's a word. So, with
Love it.
that, we're
Love
going
it.
to do all the things, the tiny tasks, whatever it is. We're committing to you guys, our Regents podcast listeners, that we're going to take those steps because we want to have something to report to you guys. That's not all why we're doing it, but it's great. That's a part of the reason why we created this podcast so that we could document our journeys
Yeah.
for ourselves and for other people. We hope that this inspires people. And I have a very good friend. I'm going to shout her name out because she listens and whatnot. Nancy. We were
Nancy.
talking, and it's important that people realize we've taken the entrepreneurial route, but the stuff that we talk about is not just for entrepreneurs. I think
Mm.
anyone can benefit from these types of ideas and concepts and actions and all that type of stuff. So, some of the things that we've spoken about resonated with her as well, about leaps of faith and, you know, yeah. What's the cool way that the kids do
The
them
way that
right now?
kids do it, they do this or they do
This.
like this. Oh yeah,
This
this
is the
one.
hard one. I feel
I
like
feel like this is if
it's
you
not
don't have
natural.
no, and this is also like
Yours is,
arthritis. It's hard. I feel like
yeah.
I have arthritis doing this. If
I
you
can do
think
it
you
pretty
might
well, but
have
it doesn't come quick.
no,
I
if you
have to,
think you
like,
might
think
have
about
early
it.
onset arthritis, try to do this. How are you doing that? Like, guys, if you're listening from audio, well, no, actually, everything's video now. But if you're
Everything.
listening from audio, like, we're literally, wait, what finger is the straight finger? Oh, okay.
The
It's the
middle finger.
middle.
How
Oh,
are you doing that?
I was like, I'm not
It's
figuring this out.
I've seen these young people, they just, like, go into it as fast as we can do this. I'm just like, "This is a gang sign.
Oh
I don't
my
know how
God.
to do this one."
That's it. When I was a kid, there was like in grade school, everyone was trying to do like the like finger thing with the blood.
Oh,
Have you seen
yeah.
that with the like? I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
think you should be throwing that up. Like,
Don't try to do it.
I
We
mean,
are
I was
not
in
trying to prepare.
no. I'm in fifth grade, like 12 years old, being like, I don't think you should be doing that.
I don't know, guys. I don't know.
Little like the shortest, tiniest, whitest kid in my class is just like, I'm doing it with his hands. I was like, dude,
Oh, and now we no.
don't
'Cause,
mess around
now
with
it's
any
gonna
kind of
be
symbols of affiliations of anything
we're on social
except
media now. At least back then it was just
for
like
love.
kids in the recess ground, but we're not tied to any associations.
No, no affiliation except for the
No.
University of Hartford.
Hey. Holler at us, you heart. Holler.
I know, right? Sponsor us. Put us in that weird quarterly magazine.
Gosh.
Put us in it.
That's the way to get a sponsorship,
Yeah.
Ellyn. Call it weird.
Well,
That's
no,
how you do it.
it's the glossiest, sickest quarterly magazine I have ever.
Oh,
It's like they send it out on cardstock. I'm like, guys,
absolutely.
you could be saving.
That's money. Okay, that is money. They said we got the best paper, the shiniest paper.
You know that sounds like a freaking Trump thing. Like, I have the best paper. It's the best quarterly.
The best paper.
It's the best paper. I've got the best ink. It's the best quarterly you've ever seen.
The shiniest.
It's the shiniest quarterly from a university you've ever seen.
Color. No black and white.
He's like, we have premium color ink. It's the most premium color ink you've ever seen. I don't think you've ever seen premium ink like this.
Before in my life, I've never seen anything like it. I can't believe you. It's unbelievable.
Oh my God. It's a very intense quarterly, but put us in it. Feature us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll frame that magazine.
Because it's definitely worthy of framing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It's canvas.
You could build a house. You could build a house on that magazine. Okay. It is thick.
Beyonce thick. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay, guys. Well, on that
note, thank you so much for listening,
Yes.
watching, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. Be sure to follow us on all of our different channels. Right now, we are on TikTok while it is here.
While it's here.
Yes, at the Regents Podcast. We're on IG at the Regents Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to listen, like, subscribe, comment. Let us know what actions you're taking.
Yep.
Your thing, whatever that may be.
Whatever your thing is.
Yes.
There is no thing that is too big or too small.
That's right. But please let us know.
Yeah,
And
seriously.
This episode helped you in getting the ball rolling. So
exactly.
Yes.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, Aja. I appreciate you as always.
As always, Ellyn with a Y. Love and appreciate you with my gang sign.
I'm trying to do a heart thing, guys. If you're listening on audio, I'm trying to do a heart thing.
I did it.
How did
you?
Okay, that's the thumbnail.
Ellyn's a diamond. I don't know.
Literal carpal tunnel trying to do that.
It's a hard struggle, guys.
I'm just gonna do the hope sign. I'm just gonna do the hope sign. I just can't do it. I can't do it.
Just choose your own, gang sign of choice.
All right. Cross all my fingers, and you're a kid crossing all your digits.
That's why we stick to this. At the end of every episode, we do this. Peace. All right.
It's the universal, not really, because it means something else in other cultures, but peace sign.
Oh, didn't know that. Okay.
Oh yeah. All right, bye guys.
Thank you. Bye.
The Regents Podcast. The Regents Podcast. It means F you if you do it this way in the UK.
What?
Yes, I know. Violent. It's aggressive.